Hello friends, this is Christian Wiese. Today I wanted to talk to you about circumventing the matrix. Now the matrix we all know from the movie, which has some good spiritual ideas, but on the other hand it's that old-fashioned war between good and evil, the few that try to break free, the one master that is free, and the countless others that are trapped in conditioning. If you want to perceive the world that way, you can, but I would argue it contradicts the power of now. When I look back, spent 10 years in academics, 20 years in the financial world, and now I think I've spent some 15 years in the spiritual community. When I look back, I would say I have met amazing people in all areas. Also a few where I felt, well, not so sure about that. But I don't think I would classify at all. There's certainly a different vibration, and I certainly wouldn't be able now anymore to work in academics or to work in the financial services, but I wouldn't either judge the people. Everybody has access to the power of now, and I think that is something that we in the spiritual community should talk more often about, because it is true. I saw a fascinating talk between J. Krishnamurti and David Bohm, the physicist. They had a series of talks. The one I saw happened in 1975. And at one point, David Bohm just asked Krishnamurti, do you experience a center? And Krishnamurti said, no, center as in having desires, ambition, a sense of being. And that, I think, is a very interesting point. And actually David Bohm peeled the onion, and he said, at one point thought, and I would also add conditioning to that, created a center, created that point of reference. And from there on, every pleasurable activity strengthens that center, and every painful experience made us shy away from actually going to the root of it. So there was a center that's entirely thought created by conditioning, and at one point this artificial sense of being became real, and from then on one just doesn't question it anymore. Just, this is how I feel. I like big houses, or I hate the rain, or whatever else it is that one feels is our center of being. But we do not understand that actually this was just created by ourselves, and then we stepped away from it and pretended that it was real. Now, what to do about it? Well, in the enlightenment discussion, we focus on that center. How can we conquer that center? How can we make it go away? How can we move away from that center? Which is, of course, as we all know, very hard. But I would just start by, in a sense, awareness. Just awareness. When are we circumventing the center? And as a matter of fact, as I'll explain in a moment, when we circumvent the center, we are aware. We do not need to be aware. We are aware. It's kind of flowing through us. But then, when we are part of that conditioned mind, just being aware at that moment that we are is already a huge step forward. So I wanted to talk more about that. So how can we circumvent the center? As a matter of fact, it happens often, and it happens to everyone. In the book that I put out, Breaking Free, I had 4 dimensions, the acronym for self: stillness of mind, energy, love, flow. Now when we start, say, with flow is kind of the perception. We just perceive things as they are. When I stepped out this morning, I saw a bird looking at me very suspiciously. He was on the grass, he wanted to pick a worm, but he didn't trust me, so he kind of just looked at me. So in any case, I got into my car, drove out, didn't think much more about it. But then when I came out of the gym again, there was a little sparrow kind of looking at me, and I was kind of reminded that in a sense that connectivity with nature, with people, with life as is always there. And in a sense, when we have an eye for it, we do step out of the conditioning. It is automatic. At that point, all the, I don't even want to use the word attention, all the presence is on the bird, not on our memories, not on the past, not on the future. Entirely on the bird, very much like you can hear right now, the bird singing in the background. So perception circumvents the center. I think you can experience that for yourself. Love, it's about unconditional love. Once again, that is something that everyone experiences. Now, of course, we need a little sorting out. Romantic love comes pretty close, but then 2 years later, we may hate the person that we fell in love with, and that's obviously not love. But once again, heart-centered energy is actually something that everyone can experience. And when we do, conditioned mind also disappears. Energy is a little harder to explain. I will actually add to the discussion in the comment section, I will add a meditation session that Moji give. I think Moji is a master in connecting you with energy, and that is something you can literally feel. So it's sensing in a sense. So seeing, knowing, feeling, and then there is that sensing, and that's, I think, what that energy is all about. And in those meditations, he literally gets you into that energy that is always present, and at that moment when he talks about it, you can feel it. And at that moment when you are in that energy, once again, conditioned mind doesn't exist. And lastly, serenity, stillness, it's the knowing, it's the crown chakra, very confusing. There are a lot of people who think they know. And how do you know if you know? It is not easy, but, well, two things. One, in the mornings, I always have that download, which just comes out of nowhere, where literally it cannot have been thought created, because there was no thought when I woke up. And the other little indicator that gives it away, that sometimes you feel a little tingle in your crown chakra. Hard to describe, but there are ways to know that you know, and that knowing is outside of conditioned mind. But now, what do we actually do with conditioned mind? What about the realization that often we are triggered, often we are nervous, often we do think back about the events of the past? Once again, just knowing that at that moment the center has taken over, and not even trying to be without a center. The trying is once again a conditioned mind trying to do something. It doesn't work that way, but rather just knowing, observing, sensing, feeling conditioned mind at that moment is huge, and it does change your life. It certainly changed mine. I now know when I am conditioned. It doesn't help me. I cannot break free at that moment, but just knowing really changes the story a lot. Someone said, the moment you know that you are telling yourself a story, the story already changes. I think that's exactly the point I wanted to make. So circumventing conditioned mind, knowing the difference between being without a center and having a center, to me is the spiritual work that we all can do. And as I said, it's life-changing, and I hope you try it. All right, all the best. Bye.